Netflix's Monster, the Ed Gein Story, promised us to show us the man who inspired a generation of Hollywood's most terrifying killers. With chilling performances and scenes of sheer, grotesque depravity, the series certainly captivated millions. But how much of the horror you just binged was rooted in the grim, documented reality of Plainfield, Wisconsin, and how much was manufactured fiction? The real history of Ed Gein is far more complex, far more disturbing, and in some ways far more human than anything Hollywood dared to show. We're breaking down the 7 most significant, sensationalized claims the series made, from his supposed role in terrifying unsolved cases to the unbelievable truth about his only love interest. These are the 7 things Netflix got wrong about Ed Gein's story. Stay with us, you won't believe what they made up. Let's start with the central, sickening moment the entire series hinges upon: the murder of his own brother, Henry. The show tells us this was his first true kill, a brutal act committed out of jealousy to protect his mother. He strikes Henry dead, then stages the whole thing as a marsh fire accident. But the historical record tells a very different, frustratingly ambiguous story. Yes, a fire broke out in May 1944. Henry was found dead. The official cause? Asphyxiation and heart failure. Ed Gein was questioned, but he never once confessed to killing his brother. And despite later suspicion, authorities at the time ruled out foul play. Did Ed Gein kill his brother? That's a question Netflix answered, but history never has. It remains one of the great enduring mysteries of the case, a foundational truth the series simply decided to invent. Next, the story of Evelyn Hartley, the young babysitter the series uses to propel its narrative forward. We see Ed, enraged after being replaced, stalk, abduct, and murder Evelyn with an axe. It's a terrifying, pivotal moment in the show. The problem is, the victim was real, but the killer was never confirmed. Evelyn Hartley vanished in 1953 in a high-profile cold case. Yes, Gein was questioned because he lived nearby, but that's where the facts end and the fiction begins. Ed Gein denied any involvement. There's no forensic or testimonial evidence linking him to her disappearance. Evelyn Hartley remains a victim of an unsolved case, one whose tragedy was simply borrowed to inflate Ed Gein's body count and make the series more dramatic. The real monster here may be the exploitation of an unsolved mystery. Then there's the chainsaw and the lost hunters, pure horror movie myth-making. In the show, a group of hunters stumbles upon Ed's shed, forcing him to chase them out wielding a chainsaw. In reality, there is no evidence Gein ever killed any lost hunters, and more importantly, the chainsaw was not part of his actual methods. Gein used guns and knives. The truth is stranger. The idea of the chainsaw in horror came later, confirmed by Texas Chainsaw Massacre director Tobe Hooper, who said it struck him while standing frustrated in a crowded department store during the holidays. The chainsaw scene in Monster isn't history, it's cinematic fan service. The show also needed a love interest, a woman outside his mother's shadow. Enter Adeline Watkins, the long-term fiancée who supposedly held the decades-long torch for Ed, proposed to him before the crimes, and loved him even after. The truth behind the Adeline story is a textbook case of media exaggeration. The show builds it from an early 1957 interview claiming a 20-year romance, but Adeline Watkins later retracted that story completely. She clarified that their relationship, mostly Ed dropping by her house for conversation, was romantic for less than a year, and that the newspaper had blown it wildly over proportion. That sweeping love story driving the series' emotional core, largely invented. Now for perhaps the most unbelievable twist in the entire series. In the final episode, the show merges 2 serial killer legends. We see the FBI's behavioral science unit visiting an institutionalized Ed Gein, asking him for his help. The fiction is stunningly bold. Gein, the consultant who helps the FBI hunt Ted Bundy, the Pacific Northwest killer. The real history is simple. There is no evidence in any FBI or police record that Ed Gein was ever used or consulted to catch Bundy or anyone else. That scene exists purely to give the show a final, mind-bending twist to close the season. Finally, 2 quick fabrications that reveal how far Monster will go for drama over documentation. The Murder Nurse. The show depicts a shocking scene in which Gein kills a nurse while institutionalized. The real record shows no such event. It's a dramatized hallucination sequence. Gein remained in confinement until his death from lung cancer in 1984. The Babysitting Scare. The show shows Ed taking children he babysat back to his home and frightening them with his gruesome masks. While it's true he occasionally babysat, there's no evidence he ever brought children to his house or exposed them to anything disturbing. Another invention designed purely to heighten the terror. Monster, the Ed Gein Story is a masterclass in true crime sensationalism, trading documented fact for cinematic shock. But in doing so, it forces us to ask, who's the real monster? The severely isolated man suffering from untreated mental illness, or the entertainment machine that keeps sensationalizing his crimes for profit? The series may blur fact and fiction, but the pain and horror endured by the victims and by the people of Plainfield were tragically real. If you want more fact-based, unsensationalized history like this, hit the like button and subscribe to Time Secrets. Tell us in the comments which scenes you think were pure fiction. We'll be reading every single one. Thank you for watching.